Pictures can also be imported into GEO Studio. Pictures can be imported for illustrative purposes or as a background for defining a problem. For example, you could import a bitmap of your corporate logo and put it on the drawing. It is important to recognize that it needs to be a bitmap file format. A JPEG, for example, is not accommodated by GEO Studio, so it has to be a bitmap file format. I'm going to demonstrate here how this works by importing a scan diagram from a textbook, and the file name is textbookexample.bmp. This is a scanned drawing or diagram from the Lamb and Whitman textbook called Soil Mechanics on page 271. And then once I have imported the scanned bitmap, I'm going to use the picture to create a proper scale and then draw regions. Going to GEO Studio then and creating a new CEPW analysis. And once we have created a new CEPW analysis, then we have a blank page. The first task is to make sure that we set up our page, and in this case we'll use a letter size in landscape format, 11 by 8.5 inches. Also, it is important at this stage to say set units and scale, and the drawing is in metric dimensions, so we are going to use the select metric ahead of time. This is important. We do this before we import the bitmap. Clicking on the zoom page icon, snapping on the grid, we have a 1 meter by 1 meter grid spacing here, and at this stage we can say sketch, pictures, and insert a picture. Clicking on insert, and then clicking on the bitmap file. In this case, the bitmap has been provided for you. The bitmap is called textbook example. Clicking on open, our cursor turns to a plus sign, and we now need to click on the page where we want this bitmap, and we need to click in the lower left hand corner. I'm going to click at the x equals 0, y equals 0 coordinate, and now we have imported our bitmap file. We can now see that we have our default scale is probably needs to be adjusted. It's 1 to 200. We can probably work with a 1 to 150 scale. Clicking on OK, the bitmap still fits onto the page. Let's shift the bitmap a little bit to the left, set units and scale. Instead of a minimum of -5, let's say the minimum is -3. And so now we have simply imported a bitmap onto our drawing and into our GEO Studio file. The next step is that we can zoom in on a particular region of the bitmap, and we see that this drawing wants the center line, the x equals 0, to be at the center of the drawing. And we have some dimensions here which can aid us in setting the appropriate scale. We can turn off the snap to grid, and going back to sketch, pictures, and then clicking on the bitmap, we